Leave them not technology. Did everybody hear me out there? Okay. So I was preparing before. I was in the I was getting a cup of tea just in the restaurant over there. I was just going through some notes. I like to prepare before I do these events, as you do. And the girl, the waitress, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just preparing to do an event shortly." So what event's that? I said, "Oh, just the event that I'm speaking at." And she gave me some advice. She said to imagine you're all naked. I'm not going to do that. Give me a heart attack if I do that. No offense to anybody. Okay. A little bit about myself. I'm not going to bore you with my story because I'm probably the only one in the room that wants to hear my story. So a little bit about myself. I've been doing personal development, NLP, psychology, physiology for many, many years. I work with high-performance athletes, businesses. I work with high-risk defenders as well. And I work with people with medical conditions too. So I'm quite varied what I do. I use the mind as well as the physical training and obviously nutrition and all that stuff as well, disciplines too. And I think in my own journey, there's been a journey of constantly looking to ways to improve, not just myself, other people too that I work with. I've been quite lucky, fortunate, consider myself quite fortunate, work with a world array of different people. So it's been an enjoyable journey. This evening I'm going to share with you a really powerful technique prior to Helen coming up. And basically I'm here for one reason I'll compliment what Helen does because she's going to do some fantastic processes afterwards, but also you can take this away. And I think this will tee the next process up nicely because there's one thing setting goals, but I think what's really important when you are setting goals is to be very clear about where you want to go. This is a very powerful process we are going to cover. The process we're going to cover is a process I used and have used for many, many years with athletes, with people in the arts, with people who've got medical conditions, people who want to even give up smoking, stop, overcome fears, phobias, lose some weight, get in good shape. So it's quite a variable technique. So whatever you do as a practitioner, it's a very powerful technique you can use. And the technique is called Brilliant Future. Just a show of hands, who sets goals in the group? Anybody actually set goals? Anyone actually set goals? Most of you set goals. Okay. And how many of you are a master of your own destiny? How many of you can say that you are where you want to be? Okay. One person. There we go. Yeah. Maybe two down the line. Okay. Okay. So everybody else, work in progress, or maybe you've got massive plans. I don't know. The key thing is really is to become a master of your own destiny. If you don't do that, you don't become a master of your own destiny, then people obviously will take control of where you're going. And if you look at the world around us today, it's very easy to be blown off course in terms of where you want to go. The clearer you are, and one thing I would say to you going into this seminar, in setting goals and assessing your future, and the process we're doing tonight is a cross-examination. I would call it, for want of a better word, a cross-examination of a goal that you're going for. It's one way to cross-examine variable levels that are associated with people's internal thinking, how to move forward and take steps to achieving the goal, putting you in the driving seat, at least giving you the best possible chance of achieving. I think that, generally speaking, it's quite easy to set goals of a certain level. For those of you who didn't put your hand up to setting any goals, we all set goals, whether we do it consciously or not. Every soul on earth sets goals. If they're not done consciously, writing them down and thinking about them, they do have goals. Because everybody generally gets up in the morning and makes themselves a cup of tea, buys a paper, goes to work. So you have a choice. To a certain degree, you have the ability to exercise that choice. So whether you become a victim of circumstances, there's sort of people who are the victim, the reason why they want to be, it's the parents' fault, it's the teacher's fault, it's the country's fault, it's the politician's fault. I think really, ultimately, I don't deny that circumstances can influence where we are, yet what I would say, it's also important that we react in a way that we can achieve a positive result. So we're in control of our reaction. I get people that say when I sometimes say, well, it wasn't my fault that this happened. It may not have been. I don't deny that life gives us some cruel blows along the way. But what I would say, how we react to certain situations is entirely up to us. And there's always someone out there who's had more challenging situations than us. I'm sure of it. On my journey, I become aware of that. So a lot of people in life, and you probably rate sort of people who kind of coast along, and their goal might be get up in the morning, go to a lousy job, pay the bills, and just go through the motions. And that's fine if that's what somebody wants to do. It's not my job to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. But what I would say is life is short. In case we need reminding, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. We're not here forever. Nothing's permanent. As far as I'm aware, you've got one life. And during that life, I think everybody's obligation is to live it the way they'd like to. And it soon goes by. Okay, definitely. So I think that, whilst you're here, you may as well give it a shot. And I see a lot of people criticising people. I've certainly come across people who criticise people for having a goal. You ever seen that sort of person before who hasn't got somebody else having a goal? Well, it's easy, I suppose, to sit down and criticise somebody else. Yet, in saying that, the challenge is to give it a go and learn. Learn from experience, which is quite useful too. Now, I want to make this real, this seminar. I want you to go away and take out what you will. You're not accountable to do anything you don't want to do. Okay? You're not going to have me breathing over your shoulder telling you you've got to do this, you've got to do that. What you do when you leave here is entirely up to you. Yet, in saying that, you've made the decision to come here tonight. You could have been at home, watching Coronation Street or EastEnders. You could have been, many other things that you could have done if you wanted to. You came here, so you're here now anyway. And I believe that time is the biggest asset we've got. It doesn't matter if you're Warren Buffett, Richard Branson, you can't buy back time. So you've invested time tonight, which is the most significant investment that you'll invest anyway. And if you put that time in, you may as well take out of it what you will. You're not accountable to do what you don't want to do. If you take one thing away from tonight and it brings you to where you want to be, you look back, certainly, and think, you know what? It's job done. And certainly in my life, some of the goals I set myself, you probably relate to this, haven't taken me where I wanted to go at the time, but somewhere a lot more positive when I look back. So with all these things, one decision can make all the difference to move forward into where you want to be. So while we're at it, we look at variable criteria in our life, and maybe you might want to choose one criteria. It could be career, health, fitness, personal life, social life, anything really. Maybe it might be an idea now to choose one area of your life and decide about setting a goal, whatever it might be. Big or small, it's entirely up to you. Success is relative. Success isn't just about being a Hollywood star, a top sports person, or top whatever. Success could be anything that's relative to you, which is important. Now, one of the things is, and if you relate to these situations here, if you ever meet people or ever been in a situation where you felt a bit stuck in your life, not sure where to go, can you relate to that? Okay, I know I've certainly been in situations like that where I felt stuck, not sure where to go. You put effort in. Have you ever been in a situation you put a lot of effort in and you don't seem to be getting anywhere? You're putting the effort in there and things just aren't going the way you want to go. Anyone relate to that situation there? You're putting the effort in, you're working hard, or you meet people, I'm doing all I can, I've gone for the job interview, I've gone to 20 interviews and I'm just not getting the job. It's just not working out. I'm fed up with all this positive stuff because it's just not happening for me. Now the techniques we do tonight aren't airy-fairy positive stuff because I recognise that there is obviously, weeds in the grass, so to speak. But the key how we react to that is entirely up to us. And the process we're doing tonight is quite powerful because you become clear about where you are and where you want to be. Let's be clear about where you are and where you want to be. And I know in my own life, when I've had setbacks along the way, and I've certainly had many of those, and I've got many people who have gone on to do really well, the key for me in moving forward is to face up. You get up in the morning, and sometimes you don't like who you see in the mirror, but you've got to face up and say, you know what, this is where I am. This is where I am. Am I more than this, or am I going to live like this the rest of my life? And I can relate to situations like that. I mean, I've run businesses in the past, and in the mid-90s I had a very successful business in London, or at least was running it, and I was working with many clients, everybody who was anybody, literally every day. And I was working every day that God sent, and I had my own athletic career. And at the end of it all, through no control of my own, it all got swept away, so to speak. And with all that, I had to make decisions. Did I wallow in my own self-pity, or did I move forward? Well, I did wallow in my own self-pity for long enough. But then, if you've got a situation where you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired, well, that's where I was in my own life. I thought, I've had enough of this. It's time to move forward. It's time to stop sulking and being the victim and move forward. And since that day, which I'll never remember to be fair, never forget, it stays in my mind, I had to make a decision. Do I stay where I am or do I move forward? Bearing in mind that I spent a lifetime to become a professional athlete, and to have that taken away literally in the space of moments really, was a massive blow when you work hard to do something all your life and then it gets taken away. It's a massive blow. So you do one of two things. You put your head in the sand or you move forward. And one of the key techniques for me, I've said it before, I'll say it again, was the process we're going to do tonight. Because you take a long hard look at yourself and you see where you are and you make decisions about where you want to be. And the road could have taken me anywhere at the time, but looking back on it now, the road took me exactly where I wanted to be, which was key. Now, it gives you structure to the process we're going to cover. One thing I'll do, I want to set the scene before we move forward to the process. I want to set the scene for you, which is key. One thing that I did years ago, and I do regularly now, and I do in business and with people who want to get, healthier, fitter, faster, stronger, whatever it is they want to achieve, is they get to write letters themselves in a time frame they're comfortable with. And the way I will do that, suggest you do that, is to write that to yourself. And here's an example now. You have to use this time frame. Say if you were here a year from now, it's 2/14, September, a year from now, what would you have wanted to achieve? And that will help navigate where you want to be. If you were here in a year's time, what would you want to have achieved? Spend a couple of moments to write it down. The power of writing things down. One of the most powerful things anyone ever taught me to do, one of my mentors said, write it down. And the amount of times that I wrote something down, and within a time frame, I actually went on to achieve that, or there and thereabouts, is phenomenal really. So just take some time. You don't need to write a whole book. Just maybe a briefing of, you're here this time, next year, what would you want to achieve? Where would you like to have travelled? Who would you like to have met? How much money would you like to have made? Who would you like to have met? Just a bit of a briefing, okay? Because that can change the course of one's life. If you get up tomorrow morning, you do something you haven't done before, pick up the mobile phone and call someone you haven't spoken to in a while, you send an email, you go for a walk around the block, whatever it is, it sets the world in motion. So just take a moment or two to write a letter to yourself. And in my career, I've been very privileged to work with some very high-profile people. The amount of people I work with who have actually done this process and gone on to achieve what they set their sights on is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal how people do that in sports, in business, and it's a great opportunity to just reflect on where you are and where you want to be, and do it regularly. If you take one thing away from this seminar, do it regularly. Daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, writing a letter to yourself is quite powerful. I remember years ago, I was working with someone. She was a journalist at the time for a local paper, and she said in her own words that she wasn't sure what to do, what direction to take, and where her life was going. And one of the things I said to her was to write a letter to yourself. Where do you want to be in the time frame you want to be there? And it was quite interesting really, because years later, what she talked about that she wanted to do and what she went on to write, she was actually living exactly what it was. I was in London, I was doing a seminar, I switched on the TV, and she went from being a local journalist and she was doing the news for BBC World News. It was phenomenal to see how far she came. She took by the time. I came up to Manchester and she invited me to a meeting to do or help one of her colleagues on an infomercial. And there she was living in an exclusive part of the city, pretty much what she said and where she wanted to be. So it's phenomenal how, and I'm just referring to her, not how many other people I've had the privilege to see go on and do really amazing things. So it's quite a powerful process. If you take that away from the seminar this evening, then you'll take a lot away. The process we're going to cover is called a brilliant future. It is what it says on the tin. Create a brilliant future. Pretty much it is what it says on the tin. Okay, now the handouts are on the chair. You've probably got one now. If you haven't got one, I'll pass one around to you. Like I said earlier, you're not accountable to do anything you don't want to do, but you may as well, having made the effort to be here, choose an area of your life you want to make an improvement. Okay, now think about the variable areas of your life. You've got career, relationship, family, health, fitness, personal growth, spirituality. You might want to choose all of them. It's entirely up to you. But if you choose one area and one goal in one area, then you can walk away from here and build on that. The time we've got this evening is limited, so take what you will out of the seminar, but also maybe choose an area for now. When you apply things to yourself, it's powerful. You learn. When you apply it to somebody else, it embeds itself even more. So I would even suggest that, having done the seminar tonight, go out there and work with somebody immediately. You're not going to do anyone any harm. They'll only go forward in their life. There's enough negative rubbish out there as it is already anyway. You know, you switch on the TV in the morning, and the crap you hear on the news and all that sort of stuff, you know, they report 3 or 4. Do you ever feel that way? You switch on the news, read the papers. Is there anything good in the world? There's probably a million good things going on in the world, but they talk about the most negative things. So all this stuff is going to help someone move forward in a good way. It's not negative. Okay? And people who say otherwise can live that delusional life. That's fine, it's entirely up to them. Having the balance is key. There's enough negativity out there. Dare to dream is key. A lot of people say, well, if you set people up to fail, well, better to set someone up to fail than be a failure anyway. So you're only going to learn by not doing something right anyway. So maybe you want to choose a goal. It's entirely up to you. As I said before, it's a powerful process. It's almost a way of cross-examining. Now think about it. When you're achieving a goal, or when you've attempted to achieve a goal, what's the process? What do you do? Anyone can share a goal they've achieved. What exactly do you do in your mind? Are you aware of it? What happens in your mind? Okay, visualize. Yeah, definitely. It's a powerful part of achieving a goal. But what else do we do? Do we just visualize? Do we do anything else about it? Sorry. Yeah, break it down. Yeah, it's manageable steps. Anything else? Plan of action? Definitely. So if I had a goal to get into shape for a sporting event, now what I would do, I'd go into an environment where I could do that, whether it's a gym or anywhere for that matter, where I could do what I wanted to do, the sporting event, I'd train on a football field, whatever it is. Then I would also behave in a certain way. I'd go in there and I'd dedicate myself to a training schedule. Okay, so if you're looking to lose some weight, you might go for, motivate yourself to go for a walk around the block. But then you've got the capability to walk around the block, or to come to the gym, or whatever it is that you're doing to get into shape, or if I was training for an event. Then, above and beyond that, we need to have the belief that we can do it. All the will in the world, if we don't believe we can do something, then what do you think will happen? Yeah, precisely.
You'll fail.
Well, precisely. There's been many a better men and women to be who have failed because they haven't had the belief in doing what they do. And I'm sure you can agree with that, where all things are equal, people have the same qualifications and same training, same schooling. One goes on to do really well, one does something different. Belief is a massive barrier. And at what point you start to believe, well, that's entirely a personal choice, but it will have a massive effect, if not just for yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, do you think anybody else will? Probably not. Probably not. So the best coaches in the world that we live in have a high degree of self-belief. They're no more knowledgeable than anybody else. They believe that what they do can make an impact, and it rubs off in a positive way. I work with people with medical conditions. A lot of the time, it's belief that has an impact in the quality of their life. I'm not a medical expert, I don't profess to be, but I know one thing for sure, that if you believe something strongly enough, it's going to have an impact on your life. Okay, I work with people with things like ME, fibromyalgia, and I've seen people literally to the point where they're in bed for years. Okay, one client in particular, of all the clients I've worked with in that environment, was a young girl, and a top consultant told her that her life at about 14, 15 was what it was. She just had to accept it. And that was it. And you may as well be speaking to God for someone of that age to be told that. And she obviously reinforced that. And once she do after that, she Googles and finds out about that condition. And what happens then? She starts reinforcing that belief. And she ends up in a spiral. 17, 18 years a day, not knowing what to do, where to go. What will happen tomorrow? Within 6 weeks. Within 6 weeks of working myself, she went on to enroll at uni, go back into training, get a social life back, and start driving again. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I facilitated. But the one thing I did do in taking the client on, I believed that we could move forward. How far forward? I don't know. I'm not going to stand here and say I've got any miracle cure or anything like that. It's not. It's just facilitating. Okay. And even to the point where the consultant would write to me to ask what went on during the work that we did. But to me, it was nothing out of the ordinary. There was certain people in certain situations turn things around. I'm not professing to know the medical elements of the situation, but I know one thing for sure. Could you imagine you go see a doctor for anything, they tell you actually you'll accept it? It's not going to bode well for you. But if they turn around and say, okay, let's move forward. Let's see what you can do in terms of quality of life, then you'll have a much bigger impact going forward. And that applies to almost everything we do. Belief is key. Now, we know belief is key. Our values related to the goal are key too. Is the goal important to us? Is the goal you've achieved important to you? Does it matter? Does it hurt if you don't achieve it? Does it hurt if you get up in the morning and you don't dedicate time to achieving that goal? Your value, what's important to you? Is your goal important? And your identity, how you define who you are will impact your behaviour. If I see myself as being a certain type of person in identity level, then I'll conform to that, it'll impact my behaviour. I've worked with many people who've been called institutionalised, and they believe that that's what they are, and they use every excuse you can imagine otherwise to support what they carry on doing all the time, yet it's breaking that identity. As long as you, and the classic example, you watch those programs where people do makeovers, they do cosmetic surgery, they do all sorts of different things, but they go back to being where they were before. They don't change. They move to another part of the country, across the other side of the world, they buy a new car, but they're still as miserable as they were before, because ultimately it ties into them, who they are. Okay, that's how they define who they are. And people have got conditions as well sometimes. They might have depression. I've been given the title of depression. And it's almost like they walk around with that label and glorify it. You know, it's almost like putting the label on their head. Look at me, I'm depressed. Fantastic. Again, that secondary gain. And I'm not, building anyone's in that situation before, but plenty of people have got depression. But what I would say, having that label is not going to serve anybody. Suspending all reservations, and as I said, every individual will react differently in different situations is important. And if it's language and purpose. Your goal has to have some sort of purpose. And think about the goal that you might have had. Did it have a purpose? Did your goal have a purpose in your life? Were you driven to do that process? And these are keys and interesting aspects of setting the goal. Now, in moving forward, deciding where do I move forward? Do I need to change my environment or go to an environment to achieve the goal? Do I need to learn different behaviours? Do I need to learn new capabilities? Do I need to learn new beliefs? Do I need to learn new identity? Do I need to develop new identity? Now this process here will help you define what you need to do, which for some people is very daunting because this makes your goal achievable. Okay? Because if you want to write a best-selling book, for example, and you hadn't written one before, then your identity would more than likely change having written the book. So where's the best place to start when you're writing a goal? Where do you think the best place to start is? Anybody? Where would be the best place to start when you're aiming at achieving the goal? Where would be the best? Any thoughts on? It would help a lot, someone who's been there before. Because someone who hasn't been there before will give you any advice otherwise, well, you can't have a great deal. Let's start the end in mind. Think about having it, what it's like to have it. Have the goal, own the goal. Be the person you want to be having had the goal and work backwards. Work backwards. Would you get in the car and go to a new destination you had to be in a specific time frame and just drive without a map or a sat nav or any directions to get there? Probably not if you had to get there out of urgency within the time frame. So your life, would you leave it on autopilot, just hope for the best? Now I've met plenty of people who spend more time writing their shopping list than designing their own goal and end up being miserable saying, well, I don't know where I want to be. And that's the fact, that's a given. I'll spend more time working out whether they can save 25p at Morrison's or Asda or wherever they want to go. And, it's it beggars belief really. I'm not saying, it's not important to certain people, but ultimately, what we invest in ourselves will get some sort of return. Our investment, our self-investment can be quite useful, so invest in yourself, which is key. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this process. It's a very powerful process. Then you guys can break away and have a practice and embed the learning. To demonstrate the process, I'll need someone to kindly volunteer and come up and have a go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I don't bite, I've eaten, so we've got a volunteer. Okay, yeah, let's step right, yeah, definitely. Okay, there we go. So you can take a seat. Okay, and you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sandra.
Please to meet you, Sandra. Sandra, tell me what your goal is.
I'm about to go to university.
Okay. Okay, and the degree in?
Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic, that's interesting. Yeah, and what do you hope to achieve after you've done that?
I hope to be on my own practice in acupuncture.
Okay, that's fantastic. Sounds interesting. And how many clients do you think you'll be seeing a week?
Well, if you base it on the most clients, maybe about an hour.
Okay.
8 hours, so hopefully maybe 7 clients a day.
Okay. And what inspired you to go for this goal? What was your inspiration to move forward this industry?
I love helping people. I've recently been involved in a car accident and I had chiropractic care.
Okay.
And just being within that kind of caring environment and truly being able to help somebody.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I'm okay, that's what you did prior to this, or?
I currently run a bridal workshop with my mum.
Okay.
So
There we go. So,
still within a customer reaction,
Yeah.
customer kind of area, but
yeah.
it's not as helping people as what I want to be.
We're going to stick pins in people soon, so
Yeah.
there we go. There we go. Okay, I'm going to guide you through this process. It involves various steps, so I'm just going to write a few bits of this on the paper so you can follow it and go from there. One thing we're going to do first of all is I'm going to get you to create an image in your mind of what it's going to be like to be where you want to be. Take the time to create an image. And we talked about visualization before being really important, setting the goal. Just create an image in your mind of what it's going to be like to be living the dream, living the goal that you want to live. And it might be easy for you to sort of close your eyes and reflect on that. It's entirely up to you what you do. But just take a moment or two just to visualize in your mind what it's going to be like to graduate from uni, go and set the practice up. What will you see, what will you hear, what will you feel, what would it be like? Talk me through what it's going to be like when you've got this actual goal.
Well, I have visualised kind of graduated.
Yeah.
There's also, I've visualised already working within many different practices to start with, to build a client base within different areas and gain different skills.
Okay.
But I'd also like to work within the NHS as well, so.
Okay.
I have also visualised kind of being an expert within the pain management field.
Yeah. You're sticking pins in people.
They use it a lot in the hospital.
Okay. So what I want you to do now is tell me a little bit about what's going to be like to have, when you've got potentially here 80, 90 clients at some point. So tell me what's going to be like to achieve what you want. What's the...
It's going to be amazing. It's going to, I can visualise having a website set up and people kind of like put comments on saying, thank you very much, you give me a new lease of life, I can now move again, or I can move away from painkillers for the rest of my life now that I can, visualising all those feelings and
Okay. That's
just
brilliant.
feeling inspired when I wake up in the morning knowing that that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to mark a spot on the floor which represents the future. So I'm going to write future down. Okay. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this marker somewhere in the future. I'm going to get to walk through these steps that we talked about earlier. Now, if the future represented the point of when you achieve the goal, where would you like me to place this card? Where would it be from where you are now? We're going to walk out to it shortly and explore.
If that's finishing university, what I'm describing maybe about there.
Okay. Is that exactly where you want it?
Yeah.
So forward, backwards, or?
Yeah,
Is that,
that's
there we go.
yeah, that's
Just got to make sure that could have been out by millimetre. You don't know. Okay. Now, to get to where we want to be, we've got to start from the here and now. Okay. Now, let me just say one thing before we move forward. If someone asked me for directions who lived in Glasgow and I'm in Manchester and I want to know how to get to London, then if I give them directions from where I am, it's going to be challenging for them to get there from there. So what we need to do is put the goal back in the court of the person you're working with. They're not going to look. Okay, you can't give someone directions from where you are. They need to explore and work out in their own mind what they need to do to where they want to be. But what would help to do that is to work out where they are. So, in terms of where you want to be, where would you say you are at the moment? Where are you in the grand scheme of things in terms of where you want to be?
I feel like I've got my map. I'm about to start doing it. Just on my car with petrol.
Yeah.
I'm on the, just about to start it.
And if you had to point to where that is, whereabouts would that be? Where's the now?
The now, I'd say, is about there.
About there? Okay, that's great. There we go. That's fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to walk through a series of steps. The first step that we're going to walk through is, well, what I want to do first of all is I want you to walk through a series of steps. prior to doing that, I want you to once again get compelled and get an association with what it's like to achieve the goal. So let's go back in that frame of mind. You've achieved the goal. You're living what you want to do. Okay? You are achieving what you want to do. Okay? Now, I want you to think along the realms of you're actually living it. You're doing what you want to do. Okay? Now, what's it like to be doing what you want to do? You mentioned it was amazing. How else is it like? You've seen clients throughout the day, you're getting your feedback, you've changed lives. You change one life, has an impact on everybody else's life. What's it like to do your dream? What's it like to live it?
It's exciting and different every day as well. Seeing different clients.
Yeah.
It'll be, I want to be inspiring others as well.
Yeah. Inspiring people.
Yeah.
People give you good feedback. You do what you really want to do, and you're getting a lot from doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. It's fantastic.
Your class is an expert as well.
Mm.
Class is an expert.
Fantastic. There's a power in the word I am. There's a power in using the word I am. Anyone come across that before? The power of I am? A lot of people say someday I'll. That someday never arrives. It could be another lifetime, for all we know. I am is the here and now. It's powerful stuff. Because I am. When will anyone ever be ready to do anything? When is someone ready? Well, after I've done that course, after I've done this, after I've done... Look, let's get away from this academic institutionalism. Okay? And if there weren't teachers in the room, I've been a teacher in the past, I might even go, and you do a fantastic job. But let's face it, the education system that we live in, the world that we live in, has this institutionalism. It's ridiculous that you have to do certain things to get to certain places without giving people the benefit of the doubt. Some people go and do the most amazing things you could ever imagine, but if you don't score a certain grade, you don't graduate in a certain place, it's absolutely absurd. Some of the best people I know, professionals, the best professionals I've ever come across, the best entrepreneurs, have done things in their own way. Okay, Branson, I don't know, but from what I've read from his books, I'm sure Ezekiel's world, they did things on their own. Okay, I'm sure they learned things along their way, but the creative power and imagination. I mean, I'm one that likes to watch documentaries, biographies and read. I've read the likes of Branson biography and so on, Sugar, these sort of people. They think beyond the box. Okay, and sometimes the academic world that we live in tells us you've got to do X to do Y. Of course, we've got certain criteria we need to adhere to, certain standards and regulations. But the most important thing for anything that you do, when is the right or wrong time? And that's the power of doing the process like this. If you don't mind, if you just want to walk up to the future, okay, and I want you to just, once again, just focus on having the goal, you're living it. If I am, you're doing it, okay? You're seeing clients regularly, you're charging what you want to charge, you've got your practice wherever you want your practice, and let's think about that. Now, just take a step to beyond achieving the goal. You step to that beyond, just before you've achieved the goal. If you don't mind, just close your eyes very briefly and think about what you've done to get to your goal. Think about what you've done to be where you are. You've got your goal, you're seeing clients, they're coming in and out of your office or your premises, you're charging what you want to charge, and think about what you've done to get there. Make it really compelling. Not if you see what you're wearing, what people around you are wearing, really make it compelling. It's phenomenal. You put the work in, you've got to where you want to be, make it compelling. Okay? And just think, just beyond achieving that goal, just gradually open your eyes and come back to the here and now. If you want to come back, you can stay if you want. Okay? Look to the here and now. If you look to the here and now, what advice would you want to give yourself? What advice could you give yourself from where you were to where you are in the tense of achieving the goal? What advice could you give yourself? It's okay. That's okay. Okay, well there we go. Definitely. Why not? Why not? Is there anything that you think that any input, anything that you could, looking back at where you were to where you are, that you feel you could provide any invaluable insights to moving forward? Some of the things that may have been in your mind along the way.
The things that are in my mind now are time carefully.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Plan time carefully. Time management. Okay. How you dedicate your time, study, and all the like. Okay. Now going forward, what I want to do is identity. Okay. Right. Identity now. I said earlier, how we define who we are will impact our behaviour. Okay, and have you ever met people who've had a promotion at work who can't live with the promotion, the title? They sabotage their chance of success. All of a sudden, they've got this promotion, they've gone from manager to manager or whatever, and they sabotage it because their identity. Or someone who retires from work, they struggle because they've lost their identity. Or someone who finds a relationship who sabotages it because they don't feel worth being with the other person. So these things are the big thing. And one of the biggest things that will change when you achieve a goal is your identity. If I was writing a book for the very first time and my aim was to be a best-selling book, then my identity is likely to change. And I've got to live with that. I've got to be willing to live with that. You ever seen these people on TV who go on and strive and they get to where they want to get to and they sabotage it all, whether it's in music or sports, and they turn to alcohol and whatever else that goes with it, because they struggle with who they've become. So giving yourself an insight from where you're going to be can be quite useful. So then you are able then to channel the energy in terms of what you want. It's a good identity. And I want you to step into identity, please. Okay, and just close your eyes, really relax, and just relate to having the goal. You've got this goal, you're seeing all the clients you want to see, you're charging what you want, what you wear, what they're wearing, really intensify, and just think about your identity. Think of who you are, who you've become, having achieved your goal, and how that's changed. How you define who you are and how that's changed from when you didn't have the goal to having the goal. Is there anything about your identity that's changed?
I feel confident about giving advice.
Okay.
And helping people rather than feeling like I'm the one that needs it.
Okay. So when you've achieved the target you're looking for and you're where you want to be, you feel confident giving advice.
Yeah.
Okay. And anything else?
Respected.
Okay. And this process here can go on for as long as it needs to go on. Generally an hour you do a session. I'm going to condense it here, or we'll probably be here till unless you want to stay till midnight, it's entirely up to you. But what we will do, I'm just showing the technique, but you take out of this what you will. You take out of this process what you will. And here there are key elements that we can pick up on, because we're writing these things down. And we can pick up on that. We can pick up any key elements in getting to your goal that need to be worked on variable levels, which are key. So you might think, okay, I might need to work on X, Y, Z. This is a thorough cross-examination of where you are to where you want to be. So we've already got things that are coming out now that can be worked on. That respect, that confidence. I would go so far to say that, where you are now, you've got all the respect that you need, and one would think the confidence you need to do in part what you want to do, yet in saying that that's your call. But the point I'm trying to make here is obviously now that you're aware of it, you can start adapting to where you want to be. And you can then start deploying techniques and strategies to help you move forward on variable levels to get there and make that smooth transition. The next thing we're going to do is belief. Okay, now I'm once again to close your eyes, really relax, and walk into belief. Okay, I want you to close your eyes, this will go. So you've got this goal, and what beliefs about yourself and the world around you have changed in achieving the goal? What do you believe about yourself or anything surrounding the goal? What's changed about your beliefs?
Graduating
Okay.
will bring about a belief that I know what I'm going to go on and practice.
Yeah.
In terms of belief within myself, I'm going to have to be super organised in terms of managing a part-time degree and being able to bring in full-time money. So I'm going to work triple hard to what I'm already working. So knowing that I can plan and organise the time of my life.
Yes.
And so then I have a belief that I can do that.
Okay. And these are key elements to the process that are important. We're picking up things like time management, belief about the graduation, and these are key things that you can write down. And the list isn't exhaustive. It's just taking the bits and pieces you think are necessary to move forward. If you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it as a facilitator, the client you're working with, which is key. All these things are probably going through their mind already. Well, they are at an unconscious level. Just bringing them to the surface, which is key. Okay. The next thing that we do, we're going to work into capabilities. So I'm going to step into capabilities. Okay, I want you to close your eyes, really relax, and think about your capabilities. What capabilities have changed for you to do what you want to do? So you've got this goal, you see people, you're doing what you want to do. What capabilities have you developed?
Knowledge of the human body.
Okay, yeah.
Capabilities to be able to listen to people, but not just listen to people, because diagnosis isn't all about just that. It's going the Chinese way, isn't it?
Okay.
But I know currently, if I say the unorganised person that I can be, I won't get to my end goal.
Yes.
So I'll have the capabilities of being able
Yes.
to juggle the time.
Yeah. And that's an important piece of information, because that could end up being a belief on an identity level. You mentioned the unorganised person. That could relate back to your identity again. Know that you're organised in variable parts in your life, or you're organised, you're here, you've got all the organisation skills there anyway, but in your own mind there's a danger when you start labeling yourself as being something or the other. And that could be the stumbling block for you to get over that hurdle, to get to where you want to get to. And these are clues coming out of the process that we'll need to work on. So it's just as easy as just going to do college or uni, then that will be all you would need to do. Obviously in our own mind we'll be clear, very, very clear on what we need to work on to move forward. Because you could have all the capabilities in the world. You could be gone to university for 100 years and you still haven't got that belief, or you still got the identity of the issue. You're not going to jump that hurdle and get there. You'll find a way to support that. I'll talk more about that as we go along. We're going to move on to the next level, which is behaviour. And just once again, close your eyes, really relax and talk into behaviour. Okay. How would you be behaving? Now think about, you've got this goal. How would you be behaving any different in that environment having had the goal? How would you be behaving any different? What would you be different than you aren't doing now once you've got that goal?
I have a purpose.
Okay.
Although I feel like I've already got the purpose because I know which direction I'm going.
Okay. I think so it centres around your purpose. Okay. Okay. And you generally interacting with clients, would that be you are now, or just generally the same? Or?
There would obviously be the professionalism that I have to
Yeah.
do. But I already believe that I've got the vision to do the job.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Okay.
in that way.
So there's nothing, okay, that's fine, that's okay. And it's a cross-examination. Okay, now finally if we walk into the environment, you've achieved your goal, you are where you want to be, how will that impact the environment you're in? What impact will it make in the environment you're in? When will you be doing it? How will that have an impact where you are?
In a healthcare profession.
Okay.
So rather than being in a retail
Yeah.
environment,
Okay.
healthcare profession, clinical practices, hospitals, perhaps as well.
Okay. Okay. Now, I just want you to step to one side. We just step to a neutral position. And I want you to just reflect on what we've covered so far. You just close your eyes, really relax. I think what we've covered so far. Let's go through identity, beliefs, values, capabilities, behaviour, environment. Is there any level you want to go back to again that you think would be useful for you to help you move forward and take the necessary step to get to where you want to get to?
I think maybe the beliefs.
Okay, let's go back to the beliefs. So we'll walk across the beliefs and just explore beliefs. Let's explore the beliefs again. So in achieving your goal, let's explore beliefs again. Which aspect of belief would you like to explore again? You've got this goal or anything else. What is it about your beliefs and your values that have changed?
I think it's really believing that I can be the super organised person that I need to be to get through it all.
Okay.
So it's maybe down to my identity as well.
Okay, okay. The two key elements there.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And who's the best person to help someone? Who do you think is the best person to help somebody? Themselves.
Yeah.
You can't do more than help themselves. So I can stand here and say, believe in yourself, be confident, you can do it. You've ever seen those motivational speakers that, come on, do it, all that sort of stuff. Ultimately, it's just going to go over your head if it's not coming from within. Okay, so we have to find a technique or a process that's going to be conducive to you moving forwards. That's for another story for another day. Generally speaking, as I mentioned earlier, there's no higher level in this hierarchy of level we've covered, but what I would say, the beliefs identity is more than mere coincidence that is the most powerful level for anyone in achieving those things. Because you know what? Behaviour you can change. It's easy to change behaviours. Or easy enough. Capabilities, we can all learn variable capabilities. We can all learn. We can study degrees, we can do what we want to do, we can be taught by somebody else. Our belief, well, where do they come from? Where do our beliefs come from? Precisely. And how far back sometimes we have to trace these beliefs? A long time, sometimes, definitely. They can be imprinted. Now, think about it. We will support what we believe to be true. What we believe to be true is our reality. I've come across people who will do everything to support their belief, whether it's negative or positive, and sometimes not even theirs. I read, like I mentioned earlier, the Simon Sugar autobiography, and he said his parents in his book had a belief that he should be a civil servant and not do what he wanted to do, entrepreneur. That was their belief. They didn't mean any harm by it, but they thought that was the right way forward. He thought otherwise. He wanted to sell antennas in the back of his van, whatever it was. Okay, so who was right, who was wrong? They didn't mean any harm by it, but that was their belief, that a civil servant had a job for life. There was a belief, I read the Solution Principle, and they talk about how he had dyslexia. Now, like I'm not medically qualified, I'm not going to go into the intricacies of commenting there, but if obviously at some point he doesn't believe it's going to be detrimental to him because he's gone on to do what he's done. But potentially, if you were to tell someone who's an entrepreneur, or potentially if you were to tell someone who is a writer or an author that they've got that, it could be a deterrent. It could be an excuse for not doing it. So, without getting into the details, I've certainly met many a person who have got the same qualifications, if not even more better place to do something, but they won't do it because the belief is there. So if you go on believing one thing or the other, then you support that. Classic case, I was working with someone who did very well for herself in the modelling industry, and she had a belief that she was unattractive. And they came from very young, and she said that's what drove her to do what she did. She was driven to become a model, and successful model like that, because she had this belief, she had to prove herself, strive. I'm going to prove that I'm actually a good-looking person in her own world, what she defined as being good-looking. And no matter what she did, she would always have that belief in her own mind. And as she would come towards the end of the career, she was in crisis, because she thought, you know what, I've been judged on the appearance, and I've got these jobs and done very well professionally, what do I do then? And she would get maybe 100 compliments in a week and would delete all those. One person would say, your shoes don't look great, and she'd stew on that. Because we will go to every extreme to support our belief system. So you've got to be mindful of what your BS system is, which is useful and key. But beyond that, your identity will define who you are. So you can get through all the university, you can become the greatest acupuncturist in the world, capability-wise, but the identity is one of which that doesn't support that. There'll always be that challenge. And that's why it goes back to when is the right or wrong time in moving forward. Now, having done the exercise, the key point there in moving forward is to develop a plan. Now, what do we do? So your goal is obviously emotion as it is at the moment. But from doing the exercise, I think you've picked up on anything that you could work on almost immediately. Having done the exercise, is there anything you think you could reflect on and would make a difference in your path?
Having more faith in myself.
Okay.
Definitely. Because a lot of things do circle around that.
Yeah.
If you don't change your belief, then
Yeah.
none of these other things will change.
Yeah.
You will not get to your goal.
Yeah, so you feel that one there is going to be an integral part to you getting to where you want to get to, believe. And obviously from there, from doing the process, if you're going your own, then there are processes you can use that can help break those belief barriers down. If you work with somebody else, then there are processes as well that you can do to do that. It's got to come from within, which is key. A belief, how long do you think it takes to form a belief? How long do you think it takes to form a belief? Yeah, seconds, definitely. In an instant. You could be in a plane, bit of turbulence, and your belief structure fly and change completely. Think about it. If you were to go for an interview on tomorrow morning, you're going to be at the interview at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's taking you out to travel there. It's really important to you. You set the alarm off at 6 o'clock to get ready and go there. The alarm goes off at 7:30. You've got an hour and a half to get. You think, well, I might be able to make it. Then you start making a coffee and moving about the house and spill the coffee on your dress, your suit. How does your belief start changing about that day? Then you get in the car, it's a massive traffic jam. It doesn't take a great deal to structure belief. And that's why why in my own mind, I intend to think that the most powerful part of this process is that, well, they're not necessarily the higher levels or lower levels. I honestly believe that potentially they hold the most influence in us achieving an outcome. Because generally speaking, you can have 1,000 people who do the same university degree, and one will go on to do one thing, and everybody else something different. If you look at some people who go on to do well as an entrepreneur, you can literally through their language patterns pick up on their belief system. You know, Richard Branson's famous catchphrase we see him on TV, and, you know, screw it, let's do it. That's the belief he's got. Let's go for it. Okay, did he always have that? I don't know, but he must have had some sort of influence somewhere. Think about the likes of Jose Mourinho, the most successful manager in football of this generation. His belief, when he first went to Chelsea for the first time, he called himself a special one in his own mind. He never played pro football, many others had. He didn't have any qualifications than anybody else. So what did he have that was different than everybody else? Is a high degree of self-belief. Okay, I'm not suggesting you go out and start calling yourself the special ones, but it's an impact, isn't it? And if you believe in yourself, so does everybody else. And it was really interesting because I was driving once in the car, and we was coming back to Chelsea. They were saying he's coming back to Chelsea on the radio, and one of the Chelsea players says, the broadcast said, what does Mourinho do different than anybody else? And he couldn't think tactically, technically, and then Lampard eventually said on the radio, he goes, well actually, he's got this high degree of self-belief, and his self-belief on him gave him an extra 10% because he believed in it. And for Mourinho to go and achieve what he went on to achieve from where he was is phenomenal. It's almost like someone coming into work at a Fuji hotel at reception and running it within a year at the very highest level. The guy had no professional background in the sport, and he wanted to do this. So there's plenty of people who've gone on to doing their own fields equally as significant, if not more significant than what he's done. So that shows the power of belief. Where do you start? Well, that's entirely up to you, obviously, you know. But a good place to start if you're going for any sort of goal is to talk to someone who's already achieved what you want to achieve, which is key. Okay, thanks for going to go. Really appreciate you coming down. Thank you. Okay, is there any questions before we have a bit of a go? You can pair up with somebody, breakaway rooms, you can practice anywhere you want. Give it a go. The best way you're going to learn this technique is by giving it a go. Anyone got any questions? The sheets are there. Have a go. You're not accountable if you want to do. Any questions? Yeah.
I was intrigued when you first put beyond, sort of, in my world, the wrong side of the future.
Yeah.
Is there a way around that, or doesn't it matter?
In terms of where
well, if that was now and this was the future, and this was just on a linear thinker, beyond would have been kind of the other side of the future from now.
Yeah.
But I can see that you have to walk
the levels
walk
according
through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody structures their own sequence in their own mind, in their own way. I guess you leave the ball in the court of the person that you're working with. If you've done a consultation, you get to know someone well enough to how they structure their own thought process, then there's a better chance of organising the way they think of things. But generally speaking, maybe getting to the point where one always the other, or just looking at cues of how they walk out the different areas, spatial areas, really, it's your call. There's no right or wrong, but bearing in mind, it's just a quick demo from a lot of people, but when you're working with someone individually, whatever you do, whatever profession you're involved in, then do work with things. You don't need to walk through the whole levels if you don't want to as well. It's entirely up to you. But offering the option, very kinesthetic, very hands-on, they probably might want to walk through the level, but leave the ball in their court. Maybe get them to point variable things and go from there. Okay. Anything else? Any other question? Any other question before we ever go? Okay. I do, if you do go on and achieve your goal, which I'm sure you will do, I do have a percentage I work with, so that's 5%. You don't mind. I'm joking. So let's give it a go. Let's spend, say, let's spend 10 minutes each way, 15 minutes each way, pairing up, maybe work something you've been working before, but know something different. The power of telling someone else your goal is quite useful too. Keeping it within is one thing, but telling someone else, and you start having that bit of a, I wouldn't say accountability, but start moving you forward. But also what's quite useful too is working with somebody different, because 2 minds are better than one. Okay, if you're trying to solve something yourself, then you might be able to do it. It's always useful to get an ulterior perspective. So yeah, partner up, have a practice, then we'll come back in and say 20-25 minutes, and then we'll